I hear ya. All right, looks like we're live.
And how about that for an entrance, huh?
That is awesome.
It's
I kind
so
of heard it.
it's so amazing to ask you. So right before we go on, I said, all right, sold out, Madison Square Garden, title
Right?
fight.
Yep.
Lisa, what are you
Yep.
coming out
And then I'm like, whoa,
to?
yeah. Everybody loves Motley Crue. I don't care who you are.
I love it, man. Good to see you, Lisa. How are you?
Good to see you too. Thank you so much for partnering up with me and Booze and Infuse and quarantine cocktails. And
Of course.
I'm just so excited to I'm looking now here to actually start my watch party. Um, let's see if I can get that going. But um, I am excited to finally touch on the subject that I'm most passionate about, which is the art of the cocktail competition. And I couldn't think of anybody better to kick this series off with than you, and doing a
Thank
little
you.
StreamYard takeover. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
we need to get Tommy Mauriello's origin story because I feel like we need it's like a superhero. You're the superhero in the cocktail world, right? So we need
Oh,
to
I
get
love it.
your or I have like I'm way too into superheroes with my kids, but yeah, what is your
I'm way too into superheroes for a 33-year-old grown man, so it's all good.
perfect. Perfect. Yeah, so tell me, how did you get your start in the cocktail world, and what aspect ignited your passion to really get into craft cocktail making?
So I mean, I'm a meathead, so at the end of the day, I was always a whiskey and beer guy. And once I started working for Bobby Vans, I realized what the difference was to craft cocktails to
Hmm.
the TGI Fridays mixer stuff, So
Right.
I saw one that there was more money when you served cocktails. So that
Hmm.
was
Yeah.
a big thing. So when I was waiting tables, I made sure that I started pushing cocktails on people. But it wasn't
Right.
until I got to Gerber Group that I fully understood what a cocktail was.
Hmm.
And there's many words for a cocktail, but for a true craft cocktail, a
Right.
cocktail that's worth spending 20 some bucks for, there's a lot that goes into that. And my good buddy Andre Santia was the one that really introduced me to that. And I was working Sunday shifts with him, and I wasn't behind the bar. Obviously, with his body type, I was on the door, so
Hmm.
I wasn't allowed. I wasn't allowed back there just yet. So I was bouncing on Sundays with him, and he would just break everything down to me, show me how to work these things, how to build them, the
Hmm.
proper techniques and the proper bar tools. And from bouncing, I started managing. And once I started managing, I understood that cocktails, yeah, had a lot to do with taste, but they had a lot more to do with liquor cost. And those things
Yeah.
are on menus to make money.
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So you can make a lot more money off a cocktail than you
Right.
would a straight pour. So certain bottles are a lot of money.
Right.
The ones behind me, they're a lot of money. But you want to make the most amount of money off of those bottles. So the difference between 3/4 of an ounce, full ounce, and 2 ounces when it comes to
Hmm.
cocktails. But at the end of the day, the creativity behind cocktails is what really got me crazy
Hmm.
about that. It's so much fun to wrap your hands around it and do your research and pair flavors. I love to cook, and it's the exact same thing. It's finding balance. It's finding ways to complement your base. Your
Hmm.
base just isn't red meat or chicken or pork. You know,
Yeah.
it's booze, and you're finding ways to amplify that through different modifiers, and it brings you down so many wormholes. So that's the long short of it on how I got my passion and my love for a good old cocktail.
I love that you're comparing it to foods and your meats. Actually, there's this whole movement in the mixology world of bartenders taking different saucier classes and knife skill, techniques, and really bridging the gap between cocktails and food, and bartenders becoming chefs in their own right. So I think I know the answer to this question, but do you gravitate towards a particular spirit? um, and I know that we can expand on this, being that you are a rock star with Edrington and their whole amazing portfolio.
So whiskey is always going to be my go-to, specifically bourbon. I love a good bourbon, but
Hmm.
it honestly depends on the day. It's like
Yeah.
I could be. I find it really weird to do this, but I'll order a Spagliato. Like if it calls for it,
Right.
I'll order a glass of rosé. Like it all depends on the experience and what you're doing that day. And that's what's great about cocktails is that the perfect cocktail is for the perfect experience. And
Right.
the best cocktail bars really embrace that. So when you
Yeah.
walk into a place like this cocktail belongs here, like and
Yeah.
so it's the same thing. It's like, am I spending the afternoon on the beach? Maybe I'm going to gear towards a little tequila. Um, just need to forget about everything after a long day of my daughter crying and working working from home. I'm gonna go to Stiff
Yeah.
Manhattan. It
Yeah.
depends on the day, depends on the afternoon.
I think we all need a stiff drink these days.
Facts.
And
This
um,
week's been a really long year, so it's
yeah, thank you. Exactly. And I think that that's great. We'll get to this in the interview, but I think that that is also what we're going to learn later on. What makes you such a great person to be on a judges panel, and just always having your favorites, but also appreciating every single spirit, for the way it fits in, to the cocktail world. Um, so just to let people know a little bit more about you, um, we know that you worked with a lot of different prestigious cocktail portfolios, huge, massive cocktail portfolios. Can you tell us about the brand that you're currently working with?
so I have the absolute pleasure to work with Edrington Americas. Um, the breadwinner, so to speak, for Edrington is Macallan.
Hmm.
So that is the big dog. And
Right.
yes, you can still make a hell of a cocktail with the Macallan.
You
Just
sure
go
can.
follow my man, the Macallan Zach, Mr. Zach Berger, and he can whip up some gems for you. But I also have Highland Park. I have Glen Rothes. We have Val Rum, Artiva Tequila, Wyoming Whiskey. We have
Yes.
Oak Bourbon. It's a phenomenal. Before that, I was with Proximo, the Jose Cuervo family, and prior to that, I was with Stoli, being their brand ambassador for good old Bayou Rum.
Oh, don't I know it well.
Yes.
um, so, now that we've finally gotten to know you and your amazing, a little overview about your amazing achievements, um, I think that it's time to kind of delve into, the theme of the art of the cocktail competition. And so, have you competed in a cocktail competition before? And if you have, we would love to know about, which ones that you have competed in, and what your experience was like with that.
Never had the courage to enter one.
No, I
I've
I
judged.
totally understand.
I've judged many. I've been in cocktail competitions like amongst friends,
Uh
making
huh.
some drinks. But the
Amazing.
one official one that I was at a GSM, a General Sales Meeting at Empire Merchants. I was still a rep, and my
Hmm.
manager Rob Maltese, the meatheadest of meatheads, allowed me to represent our team. I forgot what brand we were doing it for, but I was like, no, I got it. It's all good. And you had to run up to the front of the office and you had to grab ingredients that you wanted to go with. So I'm like, I know exactly what I'm going to go with.
Right.
At Gerber Group, they had this drink called Troublemaker. It was phenomenal. And I saw the watermelon. I knew it was there. I saw a little bit of honey. I'm like, okay, I can mess with this.
Yeah.
So I run, and as soon as I got up there, I literally blanked out. I was like, I talked all this smoke about like, oh, I don't want to drink, and I blanked. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing here? And I was like, okay, I can do this, I can do that. Then you realize that you don't have a trigger, right? So it's like, trying to measure it.
Yeah.
And the drink was disgusting.
Oh
It
no.
was god awful. To the point where the rest of the guys that were on my sales team with me were like squeezing oranges and throwing sugar into it. They were like, "Yeah, Mauriello, this sucks. This is terrible."
Well,
But
listen, it was
that
your
was that
first
was
try. You got to dip your feet in the water, right? So
absolutely. I
it,
was the fancy guy on the other side of the bar, letting the talented guys like work their magic and test them. Like, oh, that's good. Cocktail development. So it wasn't
yeah.
until I got out of the bar, so I really started to like embracing cocktail culture and understanding it even more, and getting my own hands into it and making drinks.
Yeah, and that just goes to show just how much it takes to be in a cocktail competition and how much bravery it is to just put yourself and your work on the line, you know?
It's tough. It's tough being out there, man. It really is. And like, I love your competition. It's
Thank
awesome,
you.
and you would get so good people to turn out and show off their stuff, and it's cool. And like, you want these kids to succeed, you want them to relax and enjoy it as well. And you see the nerves and the tension on everyone's face, like, oh, it's fun, chill. Like,
Yeah, it's hard. I'm telling you, I would get nervous for people. And so for those of you that don't know about Booze and Infuse or have heard of it but aren't sure, Booze and Infuse cocktail competition, you have 90 seconds to create your best cocktail from scratch. It has to have an infused element and it has to either pair well with spicy food or hold up as a spicy cocktail. Now, I started out when we first met, you sat on the judges panel for the Bloody Mary mixdown,
that was
and
awesome.
it was so much fun. And that was a great run and a great way to kind of see where cocktail competitions could go for me. And so I was wondering, was that the first cocktail competition that you had judged? And tell me about your experience with that.
So that actually wasn't one of the first ones that I had judged.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I judged two for Stoli prior to that, and I had judged something I believe at it was at Broadstone that I judged one prior to that. But
Mm-hmm.
that was my first big one. And you guys were giving away a pretty big prize that year, so it was my first time that like, oh my
Yeah.
God, this is important, Like, and it was like,
Yeah.
look at the rules, take it serious, and understand it. And that was definitely my first big one.
Yeah, that we started it out and we kicked it up to 2,500 and now Booze and Infuse, it's a $5,000 grand prize for the champion and we
It's
try to
good.
be fair. Yeah, and we don't charge an entry fee. We want these bartenders to kind of have some freedom, but we have set some guidelines there. Um and so I loved having you judge the preliminary rounds and the main stage championship. Um, I was wondering, do you feel that there was a difference in the quality of cocktails from the prelims in New York City to the main stage in the championship?
They were consistently really good. Like
Good.
people
Okay.
definitely stepped up your game, and you got some big dogs to come in from out of state as well. I know
Hmm.
that you had what, three bartender Bacardi Legacy guys come on in.
Yeah, we had people from Chicago, California, Portland, Oregon, and New Jersey. So those were our out of state finalists. And
And,
go ahead.
and they were amazing. Like all the
Hmm.
drinks were really really good. The two bourbon ones specifically, high
Of
credit,
course.
but but
Yeah.
but even like the way people embraced 1888 that year with Brigala, like it's you got 5K on the line, so the people that are coming on in there are hungry for it. So even if it's the preliminaries or the finals, people bring in the heat, man. So it's one of those places where you didn't have anyone that would just drop the ball,
Yeah.
but it's it's obviously people brought their A game for the finals, but that's
Hmm.
not giving a disservice to what people did in the preliminaries.
I think that's well said. Yeah, we had some great names. Chris
Hi, Jillian.
Toribio. Yeah, Chris Toribio. He was a finalist for when we had Brugal 1888 for Booze and Infuse. Did a great tiki inspired cocktail.
It's a shame that that kid's so shy, right? I love him. He has such a bubbling personality. I really love that kid.
He's a great guy. I think we're actually going to interview next week.
That's
So
awesome.
he's probably going to be watching.
I'm
Yeah.
a big fan.
Yeah, he's awesome. We have Melina Meza was great. Aaron Pollock, I think he was a Bacardi Legacy finalist as well. Um, so what can you tell aspiring competing mixologists about what you personally look for as a judge in cocktail competitions or even this competition in particular?
It's make sure you understand the rules. You know, like
Yes.
first and foremost, I've had, and this happened with the Fernet Branca competition.
Hmm.
Anita, love you. But the Fernet competition, someone came in and they had their drink all set up and they put Fernet in it, and
Hmm.
I'm like, dude, you ruined the drink. It's like, well, you said you had to use Fernet. I'm like, no, you had to use something in the portfolio of Fernet, and they have 7 brands. You could use Carpano Antica, you could use anything. I didn't
Right.
know that. It's like, get this much money on the line. Make sure you know the rules, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Make
There's a
sure,
lot of that.
yeah, make sure you're, and also like what I said earlier, like cocktail bars are great because you know that cocktail belongs there.
Right.
Understand the venue that you're doing it at. Obviously, much different when you're at the Brooklyn Expo Center and you have people like throwing milk on their face and crying and having steam come out of their ears during the hot sauce expo. But for the preliminary rounds, understand the venue. And people do this great at Dromedary Bar, and people did it great at what is the first base in the city?
Oh, yeah, home base, home
Home base.
base.
That,
Yes.
but by the way, that bar was great. The food was amazing. That guy was FDNY guy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, John Serp. I think now they might have changed the name to Raise NYC. It's
Okay.
either home base or Raise, but it's right in
Awesome.
Murray Hill.
But
Yeah.
people in those 2 competitions, people embraced where they were. You know, they really embraced the
Yes.
venue, and that's huge. But
Yes.
also embracing the sponsor. You know, like
Yes.
I don't like the word sponsor goes a very long way in our industry, right?
Oh,
Everyone's
yeah.
everyone's looking for a
Yeah.
sponsor. Everyone is a sponsor, but for brands and specifically youthful brands,
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult to find that money to become a sponsor. So 9 times out of 10, I found my way to being a judge at your competition by being a sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
So the sponsors are going to be judging, or they're going to be around, you know. So embrace that spirit.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
lastly, in a blind competition, and I would say 20% of the people in the competitions that you do this, and other
Mm-hmm.
ones that I've seen, write a note for a blind tasting. Let us know what's in it.
Yes.
We're dying to know what's in it. Dying to know what's in it. So please,
Yeah.
it goes a very long way to write that note. Tell us the measurements. Let us know what's going on, how you got there. It is huge, huge.
I'm so glad that you said that. So what I've been doing now, when I am interviewing bartenders and communicating with them before the preliminaries, especially if they've never competed in Booze and Infuse before, I now encourage them to print out or neatly write in a recipe card. Of course, without their name on it, because it is a blind taste test. This way, we can see whether they've really showcased the base spirit, and whether, what kind of ingredients maybe they've been inspired by and, how they put it together. So I'm so glad that you said that because that it really is important. And as the time went on, we started to realize that that was a necessity here. for Booze and Infuse. And it also kind of gives a little outlet to be even more creative in your presentation. I've seen chalkboards and,
I'm
little
this
notes.
the one kid that made the scroll,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think it was a pirate ship tiki glass. It came with a scroll.
Yeah.
That's an automatic 10 for presentation. That's like
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
that's huge.
And I was going to ask you if you could recall a few cocktails that stood out as far as presentation. I guess that would be one of them. If there are more, please feel free to elaborate, or cocktails that had a taste element that really stood out to you and you're like, oh my God, I will never forget that cocktail.
The first one that comes to mind, going back to the Bloody Mary mixdown, was the
Okay.
piece of toast that was cut out as the Brooklyn Bridge. You remember
Oh, yes,
that?
I do. I want to say that that is Laura Gardner. She's like a Bloody Mary queen, but don't quote me on it. Yep.
That was so cool and so awesome.
Hmm.
Um, there was one kid that he pretty much had. I don't know if it was a he or a she. I'm sorry if I'm mixing up, but it was at home base, and it was like a platter, and it was like almost like a poo poo platter, like
Uh-huh.
the old school style.
Yeah.
And there was different ways, and there was instructions on how to pour everything. Awesome, awesome, awesome presentation. In terms of flavors, God, I wish I could remember that.
No, no, no.
I really, and I feel bad because there's so many that have stood out
I know for the
significant.
that's totally fair. I
Yeah.
mean, and for those of you that don't know, um, we have a lot of people that compete. We do the preliminaries in each borough of the city, and the top finalists from each category, of course, advances to our main event, the New York City Hot Sauce Expo on stage. So at each preliminary, I've kind of capped it off around like 18 people because there's only so many cocktails you can taste. And I was actually going to say, what do you think would be the best way to cleanse your palate in between tasting cocktails? What do you like to do? Is it just straight water? Are you like, you need a beer? Like, what is it?
Well, being that
Some sherbet?
I have a lot of vowels in my last name, and I have a much wider waistline than most people. I need something to do with my hands, as Sebastian Maniscalco would say. Just something to nibble on is always nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely something to eat with. And Juan Juan Abroletta for the Bayou Rum Tiki Challenge
Hmm.
Dromedary requested ginger, and he had the
Interesting.
three judges just biting on the ginger in between each one.
Ah,
So
interesting. Okay.
I didn't do that, but I normally have the flamingo sauce at Dromedary on some French fries.
Okay. Hi,
So
Michael. We love
yeah,
Dromedary Bar.
absolutely.
If you're in
Um,
Brooklyn, that's the where to go.
Best. And he's invested a lot of money to keep it up and running. He's doing a hell of a job throughout all of his craziness. So anybody that's keeping their doors open and embracing that outdoor seating, can't wait to things to go back to normal for you. But looking forward to come out and supporting you guys as well now. It's tough
Oh,
out
that's
there.
so nice.
But
And
yeah, it's a
yeah,
little something to nibble on. A little something.
yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah.
recommend beer because a lot of cocktails. Maybe a Coca Cola, maybe a Sprite, something.
Yeah, yeah, important. So would you say that there are do's and don'ts to cocktail competitions in general? Like if you were writing an article, do, you know, get a tattoo or
Yeah.
don't do get an apron, don't come with body odor, something like that. Do's and don'ts.
Um, don't guilt your friend if you know the judge into giving you a good score. That's really
Yeah.
annoying. And don't question the judges. Don't put us in an uncomfortable position saying like, "Oh, I knew my drink was better than that." I'm trying to be polite. Don't let me tell you if it sucks. So we all take L's, take it on the chin. But dues, practice, man. Practice, practice, practice. Get your timing down. Depending on what you're competing in, whether it be speed, like look at all the people at Speed Rack, and you could walk in, like
Yeah.
I see it going into accounts, calling on accounts earlier in the day, before people get there. And
Yeah.
you walk into some of these places, and someone's competing at Speed Rack, and you see them practicing,
Oh,
like,
yes.
so definitely practice and get it down. Give yourself your own stress test.
Mm-hmm.
Again, understand the rules. Bring your friends. Promote it.
Yes. Bring your friends.
Promote it.
Yes.
Like it's a big deal. And I understand more than anybody, it's difficult to invite someone to something that's going to give you high stress if you're competing in. When I was boxing, I invited my entire neighborhood to one of my fights. It was the worst mistake I ever made in my life. Like, it was the first fight that I ever had. It was at Gleason's gym. I had like 30 people there. I'm like, this is terrible. Like, I didn't listen to anything. I got my ass kicked. It was bad. But invite your friends for encouragement. Invite your friends for the venue, and for the brand and for the night. It makes it a much more fun night. So bring people, tell your friends, and embrace every aspect of it. If you're competing in the Booze and Infuse competition, know that it has something to do with the New York City Hot Sauce Expo. Not a bad idea to throw some spice in that drink,
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Always embrace the cocktail competition. Research it, understand it, try to see who else you're competing in, try to see past winners. Just like anything else, man. You gotta prep. A football team doesn't go out there and go to the hash and I'll throw it to you. Like these guys practice stuff.
Exactly.
Sharpen your skills and get ready for it.
I think that is some of the very sound advice that you would think a lot of people know, but they don't. And I think that it's important for competing mixologists and aspiring mixologists out there to know that competitions have layers, and you have to invest, in good tools, and you have to invest in ingredients, and
have your own tools. Don't expect
have your own tools.
Have your own tools, your own garnish, your own modifiers. Do not expect that the bar that you're going to is going to have everything. Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Which brings me to, you've just inspired me. I know this is your interview, but a few of my do's and don'ts. Please don't come in and ask for a glass to put your drink in. You should have that. Please don't come in wasted and knock everybody's drinks over and, spill some kind of weird egg yolk milk mixture everywhere. It's just not fun, If you're going to cry, can you cry outside? Just so it's like the winners feel good about winning. Be a good sport. And I love the fact that you said bring a crowd, because you know what? I totally understand what happened to you with boxing, but I think that some people, it actually makes them feel better to have encouragement. And also, cocktail competitions, in my eyes, are a great way to promote yourself to different brands and to have on a great resume as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you give some advice to aspiring mixologists on your favorite resources or any cocktail books that you love or classes that you think would enhance them in the competition world?
Jeffrey Morgenthaler, 100%. Both of his books are awesome. A Bottle of Rum is one of my favorites.
Okay, well, cool.
I know Tiki's becoming really popular. People really enjoy it. Bottle of Rum is a really cool book to get involved with. The Smuggler's Cove book is fantastic. Obviously, the PDT book. So many out there. But Morgenthaler's book, I think, really just it takes it home. It's like it's the bartender's kitchen confidential.
There you go.
It's perfect. Like it's almost a flawless read. It's awesome. The bar book, Jeffrey Morgenthaler, that's what I feel. And with Stoli, I got to meet the guy. It's awesome.
Oh, that's really cool.
I got to hang out with him in sales. $1 for every time you hear that, right? But and he also did a seminar at our national sales.
Oh, cool.
And he came in and he told sales reps and um, suppliers like myself how to engage with the bartender, like how to go in there and put the brand.
Hmm.
Like you were saying, don't be the drunk supplier. Everyone's gonna remember you, you know. Like,
Yep.
but he like gave all these P's and Q's, and I loved it. And there were so many people that hated it and thought that he
Hmm.
was an asshole. I was like, "This, you're doing what he said not to do." But yeah, that book is phenomenal. I would highly recommend that.
That's awesome. And so so I guess as a whole, um, do you think that there will ever be a distinct formula or art to a cocktail competition as far as competing? Like, I mean, I'm kind of exploring that myself. I mean, my cocktail competitions have a format, but as for a competitor, as a judge to a competitor, do you think that there is some sort of formula or rule of thumb that they can follow?
So part of me wants to say I hope not, because I love when people
Yeah.
get like really crazy and throw things. I think a cool formula to have would be similar to what boxing does, right? In amateur boxing, you have the novice. And
Hmm.
if you have 10 or more fights or two or more major tournaments, you're now in open fight. So that means you're competing on a higher level.
Hmm.
And then you could go up to the national level, where now the headgear comes off. You're 3 minute rounds two, and you slowly go up in competition, and it gets tougher and tougher and tougher.
Hmm.
So I don't think it's fair if someone's trying to just get involved in sharpening their skills and getting into a cocktail competition to go against a heavy hitter, guy that's been doing it for
Right.
5 or 6 years.
Right.
Have a freshman class for cocktail
Yeah.
competitions. I've never entered a cocktail competition before. Competition. I mean, it's very difficult to judge, but it would be honor system. But obviously, you get the same cast of characters that are involved in this. Whether it be judges, whether it be sponsors, whether it be opinions. Like that dude has been in this bar 5 times in a cocktail competition. He's not a virgin. This is
Yeah.
his first one, so
Yeah.
you get called out quick. I think that would be cool. We get
Yeah.
more people to come out and compete because there wouldn't be the intimidation factor. You could slowly build up skills. That
I,
that's what
yeah.
I think would be really fun.
I think that that's great, and we try to at Booze and Infuse try to remain open to different levels as well. To be inclusive of everybody, and nurture that. And so that was an awesome interview, and I think that that was a lot of insight for people, because a lot of competitors have really wanted to pick the brain of judges. So having you come and open up a lot is really great. Um, and so,
I'm glad. I'm very, very
yeah,
happy to be here. Thank you for having me. So.
yeah,
Oh, and
and
judges, don't be assholes and just vote for your friends. That's
yeah.
that's
Well, that's why I've been making it blind and mixing it up. And I'm like, hey, if you know somebody that well that's competing, you can't judge in that preliminary. You can't, you know?
agree.
Um, so while we are anxiously, and I'm saying anxiously awaiting to pick up Booze and Infuse in 2021, and we will, can you show off your skills and give us a quarantine cocktail demo? Are we doing that tonight?
Yeah, indeed we
Oh,
are.
and
Absolutely.
just whoever is watching, I just want you to know that beforehand, Tommy and I discussed. I let him off the hook. I told him he could have more than 90 seconds to create his cocktail and do it.
I don't want to wake up the baby. That's why. My wife would stab me if something hit the floor right now. So
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I gonna pull down my screen so you can see my little bar setup.
Yes,
I think
you have a great home
that'd be
bar.
fun.
Unlike my garage, by the way, which is the High River Sauces compound.
My quarantine fun as well. This is me filming. I got one room in the house. They actually gave me one room.
Yeah, yeah. I'm at a folding table on my daughter's little child chair, so nice.
It's a
Perfect
it's a
setup.
it's a beautiful thing, right?
Yes.
So yeah, again, in embracing the sponsor, I'm the sponsor tonight. So I wanted to use Noble Oak, and I wanted to use Noble Oak Rye that is just released. So brand new to the market. It's 95% rye, and it's finished port with port staves. So Noble Oak, Noble Experiment, kind of. We went out there. Every bottle sold builds a tree. Plants a tree. Jeez, I'm having a tough time with words right now. I don't know why. Hi, I'm Tommy. So every bottle that we sell, we plant a tree.
And you have a newborn. Sorry, you have a newborn. So everybody, you gotta, just give Tommy a little leeway here. Keep going. Sorry.
So it's the fall, even though today didn't feel like it being 60 degrees, right? But yeah, it is the fall. So I wanted to use something that had a little spice to it,
Love it. Okay.
So we have notes of brown sugar and maple syrup on this. We got a little allspice, obviously a good amount of wood. Then you're going to get some figs, you're going to get some almonds, some obviously heavy rye, wood, green pepper, and allspice. So I want to go with that. Now I'm breaking the rule of every bartender ever, because you're normally supposed to put your cheap stuff in first, but I wanted to lead brand education, and like I said, it's been a pretty long day. So I'm leading with the base spirit. We're going to do it backwards.
That's
so
okay.
We're going to go with 1.5 ounces of Noble Oak Rye. And it being that we're representing Booze and Infuse in the New York City Hot Sauce Expo,
love you.
Put a little habanero shrub.
Nice.
Spice.
Love it.
We're going to put 2 full dashes of habanero shrub in there. And because it's this beautiful fall weather, we're going to go with apricots.
Oh.
So we're going to do an apricot nectar. And we're going to do 3 ounces of that guy.
That sounds amazing. I wish I had drink-o-vision right now.
Brand teams are working on that, I promise you.
Yeah.
We're going to do what we can do. Right now, all we have is reserve bar. So
yeah.
Hopefully.
Tommy, can you buy the Noble in your regular liquor store right now? Is it available?
Right now, yes, you can. It is readily available. And shout out to our lovely team at Empire Merchants. They've done a wonderful job distribution for us and getting that brand out there. As I keep throwing ice cubes all over.
It's all good.
Thank you for giving me more than 90 seconds. And don't use your hands while doing the ice. I'm at home, so I can do it, and I'm only drinking this drink, so don't judge me.
No judgments here, man.
My technique is terrible right now. So with that, too, you said don't go into a competition and ask for a glassware. Bring your own glassware, and it goes a long way.
Yeah.
Super fun. I think people bring their own mugs. People bring their own garnish sticks. It goes a long way. So
yeah,
I love the Nick and Nora, and I want to show the right color of this drink. So I'm going to put it in there.
Oh, that looks lovely. Simple and lovely.
And obviously the garnish. Very.
Yes.
So I hope that it stays up here, but see a little apricot rose.
Ooh.
Difficult to stay up, though, obviously. Why would that be?
My sound cut out, but I'm listening. Here we go.
There we are. My apricot rose.
Oh, that is beautiful. Apricot rose, everybody. And this video will be recorded so then people can just go over and do that. For the nectarine, is that a juice you bought at Whole Foods or something? Or is that like easily found for the at-home person?
I got it. I'm out in Westchester, so I got this at the Chico's in Westchester. It's Luza apricot.
Oh,
they got
nice.
a good amount of brands. They have a pear. I almost went with something with a pear.
Oh, that'd be great.
More fun. the top of the noble oak did not go on that, guys. In case you were wondering.
He has a newborn, everybody. He has a newborn, and
It's
I
funny.
know what that's like.
I was doing a presentation for a liquor store last night on Highland Park, and I called the beautiful aromatic peat that makes up Highland
Mhm.
Park and that smoky characteristic peat several times last night. I kept on saying the peat flavor of Highland Park. Yeah,
Oh
that was,
my goodness.
and I'm sober and I haven't even drank. It's it's a
It is,
beautiful thing
yep.
though. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
I
But
remember, yeah.
there's my little apricot rose, and also a big part of a cocktail competition is practicality. Something that's could actually go on a drink menu too. You know, you
Yes.
have so many different SKUs in there, and there's something that's you can throw on a drink menu. So that's what I
That
did
is
there.
so awesome. I love that. That's such a great tip because I know that with some of our sponsors, the restaurants were so proud of some of the bartenders that place that they put the drinks on their menu. And a lot of the drinks that did make it, I noticed, were a lot easier to construct. And that's a great thing. That's a great tip.
And that is exactly why I asked for it to be one of more practical, because I need and want that menu placement, guys.
Yes. Yes. Well, Tommy, I am going to let you get to your beautiful baby and beautiful wife. Um, but thank you so much for letting me do like a StreamYard takeover. I
All
had
day,
some,
absolutely.
I can be technically challenged. Um,
You killed it, man. You got the personality. You don't need anything else. You let someone else do all the work. You got
Thanks, man. I appreciate you. I'm like, I literally told Tommy, I'm like one step away from like a great grandmother, but I'm getting better at it. And but it is a blast. Always a blast working with you. And thank you again for giving us some insight. And we're gonna come back. We're gonna stay in touch. And
it. Of
once
course.
Booze and Infuse hits, I definitely am gonna keep going, and we could do some follow up coverage as well.
I cannot wait for Booze and Infuse to return. It's going to be a blast. As I play your outro music, I hope you hear it. Um, it's honestly so much fun. I cannot wait. Some sort of a festival. Rock it out. Thank you. Thank you for
Oh,
everyone that competes at these competitions, because I've said it before at your competitions that this is why I do what I
oh,
like. The dumb, hungry bartender, so passionate about me, so passionate about learning more about the brands. I feel I know that other people that are in a similar role as me feed off of it. So it's so awesome to see people coming out and embracing the cocktail challenge and getting involved in it. And I know that there was people doing the virtual cocktail challenges and whatnot, but people sharpening their skills, man. People are making drinks. You know, we're not trying to pit bartenders against each other. You know, we're just trying to do what we can for our brands. Let you guys know that we're still. Thank you. Thank you.
thank you so much. Have a great night. Bye,
Pleasure.
everybody.
Going out with Motley Crue.
Yeah.